APECHAIN. What is the big deal with APECHAIN? Just listen to Spencer and Jordan, and you'll know why APECHAIN has the entire ApeCoin ecosystem so excited. Hosted by Lost.
All right, welcome. Appreciate everybody coming in to join us today. I am Lost. I am not physically lost, but my nickname and my title is Lost. I'm one of the facilitators with the ApeCoin DAO, and I am supporting comms here with the ApeCoin ecosystem and APECHAIN coming to market. I'm joined today by Jordan and Spencer from the APECHAIN team, contributing to APECHAIN's development in the ApeCoin ecosystem. And we're excited to learn more about their position, who they are, what they've brought to our ecosystem, and a look at APECHAIN's network developing and all of the fun opportunities that we have as it comes live for us apes. Jordan, Spencer, good morning, guys.
Morning. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. I say good morning just almost like obligatory for our ecosystem. It's always morning for us.
It's always morning somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, it's always morning somewhere.
Especially for ApeChain. Definitely morning time right now. So
no sleep, just naps. NFT has many meetings, and one of them that we have from our ecosystem from Jason from the Hong Kong Apes is we never effing sleep. So we're never effing tired. We never effing sleep. That's NFTs for us, and it's definitely true for apes in our ecosystem. I want to get right into it with you guys. I appreciate you guys taking time to be here with us today. I know the ApeChain ecosystem, as we just said, it does not sleep, and so I'm sure you're receiving messages as we speak. Spencer, for anybody that's not familiar or hasn't already met you in the ecosystem, people listening in from all over the place, maybe not familiar with yourself or Horizon Labs, please just, if you wouldn't mind, an introduction for yourself, how you found your way into this ecosystem, and just a brief look at what you've been working on so far with ApeChain. You don't have to go too far into it, but just a touch on your role here.
Yeah, how much time you got? Right, I'm Spencer. I'm the VP of Ecosystem at Horizon Labs. Horizon Labs was a core contributor in the development of ApeCoin, was theoretically around from the start, but had sort of been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. About, I guess, a year ago or so, there was sort of discussions with other partners and a decision to be made, to really kind of push back into it and sort of become involved within the ecosystem. Around the same time, sort of all the talk around ApeChain kind of had come up and come to the fore. And, we had sat down with the Arbitrum and Off-Chain Labs team, and, they had said, well, we really want to do this, but we don't necessarily want to handle the ecosystem strategy of it. We don't necessarily want to handle the politics of it. Would you guys be our partners on this, since the ape ecosystem? At that point, I think that I had been concentrating on ape stuff for, I don't know, about a month or two. And so I said, sure, I know everything that there is to know about the ape ecosystem. And then, kind of spent the next month or two after that as we sort of geared up with that campaign. I mean, I think I must have talked to almost everybody, it feels like, in the ecosystem, either through AMAs or direct calls, got significantly, I don't think we say this, but ape-pilled is what I would say. Kind of came at it through work, but really kind of got enmeshed, within the community, started to really enjoy it, really love it, to the point where, for better or worse, spend a lot of my personal time, in the ecosystem and in the community as well. From sort of the start of ApeChain, and we got through that vote and, sort of got the rights to kind of set up ApeChain and kind of get it through those first sort of phases of getting things stood up. We're able to then go forward and really kind of put the team together that you see today, sort of connect the dots. Obviously, the special counsel and the foundation, who have been awesome from the start. Caldera as the tech partner, Yuga Labs, which is now a primary builder on it. Now Full Moon Labs, which is helping with Banana Bill, obviously, as well. And everything else, Jordan, that you guys do too. And sort of kind of getting that distributed team together. And then as we've been kind of moving through that phase into this next one and working as strategic account managers on the Banana Bill, continuing to contribute in, various ways with resources, advice on ApeChain generally, and kind of helping with partnerships, business development, strategy, and so forth. And that's kind of where we are today. I'm around. You've probably heard me on an AMA at some point, probably with you, Lost, at some point as well. if you're, in the ecosystem. And, it's been great, and just kind of looking forward to that sort of long-term engagement and commitment and relationship.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think this episode, if it's the first episode, we almost jumped. We threw people straight into the middle of our ecosystem. There's so many people, so many partners that are contributing to ApeCoin and to the ApeCoin DAO. If you don't mind, would you take us back even just a step further? I think if people are listening in to this podcast, they probably know about the ApeCoin ecosystem, or they found the ApeCoin ecosystem in some way. Maybe they were on some other platform and stumbled into this. Would you just give us a little bit of a background for yourself? Like, who is Spencer? How did you end up with Horizen? And like, what is it that makes this ape ecosystem so interesting for you? Why was it so easy for us to ape pill you and get you fully inundated and flying all over the country now to visit apes?
Yeah. So, I've been like in crypto in one way or another, at least as an investor, for a while now. I sort of entered crypto through CryptoKitties was the first thing that really kind of grabbed my attention. I had been running a marketing agency that, focused not really on crypto or tech, that focused on things like coffee and wine and stuff like that for about 8 years. I was sort of, at that point in my life, ready to kind of get back into tech, which was really my long-term background, which is in things like 3D printing and robotics and STEM tech, kind of being on the cutting edge. Jordan and I, at that time, because we both go way back, for anybody who doesn't know, started doing a couple of like way, way, way back. I've known him. We started doing a couple of projects, and then he sort of had made the jump full time and, got into crypto full time. And I was consulting for Horizen Labs at that point. And at some point, it just made sense where I didn't want to, be marketing coffee anymore. As much as I still love coffee, I really wanted to dedicate myself full time to this thing that I found really interesting. And, kind of just sort of went full force from that point on. I think with the ape ecosystem, I am consistently interested in things like decentralized governance and decentralized systems. I'm consistently interested in the degen aspects of DeFi, and just sort of all the different things that we can do, and the way that we can kind of move without boundaries and stuff like that. And so for me, as I kind of started to get involved professionally in the ape side of the ecosystem, it was kind of a perfect match for me, right? Because sometimes we say like apes are always first. They really are. There's stuff that apes have led the way on in that stuff that was all just really, really attractive to me. I'm just saying, sort of understanding when you get kind of past that first sort of facade of a bunch of people with, apes as PFPs, you start to realize like, oh, this is actually a really strong, dedicated, committed network with a lot of really cool people in it who are building stuff and who all kind of have, even if we argue and bicker and yell at each other all the time, have kind of a shared common vision and desire for where we want to see things and what we want to do. And that to me was, it just kind of spun out from there. And it was an obvious thing to kind of get more and more.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I can relate. It sounds like what it boils down to is you're a little bit of a nerd. You're a little bit of a nerd. So it was a little bit of a nerd.
A little bit of a nerd.
You like governance. You like the CryptoKitties. You're into collecting. You're into coffee. I actually have a history with coffee myself.
Yeah.
I've actually previously worked in marketing with a coffee company as well. So we have a little bit of history there that we share. Maybe nothing too exciting unless we actually are drinking the coffee. Then people might get a little bit more excited. But for this, not too exciting. I appreciate you taking the time to take us back in time a little bit there so we could learn a little bit more about you. And yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the ape ecosystem, we throw stuff, we break stuff, sometimes we don't read, but at the end of the day, it is like a big club, it is a big family, and there are some very unique opportunities here in this ecosystem that I'm still waiting for anybody to come and show me a comparable. Jordan, I think we've heard a lot from Spencer on different stages. I know Spencer gets picked out for a lot of the different speaking opportunities on the stages, and he's around the ecosystem all the time and a lot. But Jordan, I feel like you're in the office more. I feel like they put you on the paperwork a little bit more. So I appreciate this opportunity to learn more about you. So I'm going to ask you to just do the same. Maybe take us back a little bit in time, introduce us to you, Jordan, and then bring us forward here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I definitely love these opportunities to kind of speak directly to the community, and especially new people in the community. Lately, lately. I've been doing a lot of outreach on that side. Just got back from Tokyo, where I was giving a speech at Ape Summit, associated with WebEx conference over there. I've been pretty heavily part of the new APU and AIP coaches program too, which has been a really great way to get to know people that want to contribute and build in our community too. As way of background of how I got involved, so Spencer alluded to it a bit, but I started my career in crypto at Horizon Labs. I was there for a couple of years, and I was the VP of business there. When ApeCoin launched, I was the head of strategy and worked directly for Dean Steinbeck, who was on the original special counsel. After that, like Spencer said, the focus of Horizon Labs was not as heavily on the ape side of things. And I ended up getting kind of re-involved as we went through that process with Arbitrum that kind of Spencer led the campaign. While he was leading the campaign, I was holding down the fort with the other projects that Horizon Labs focuses on. And when we won it, we realized, okay, this is going to be a big deal. So I started kind of throwing myself into it full time and really fell in love with the community and what it represented in the industry, right? And then around April of last year, I left Horizon Labs, started up Full Moon Labs, which is an ecosystem growth consulting company, and signed ApeCoin Foundation as our first client. After that, we ended up working with Wabam on the special counsel and some others to build out the what eventually became the Banana Bill, of which we're also the program facilitator on. The reason why I got involved in crypto originally is my background is more in kind of frontier markets on the finance side of things. I mean, I started my career as kind of a finance and business journalist in China back around like 20 years ago almost. From there, ended up working at a lot of big banks and hedge funds. And through that, I ended up spending a lot of time doing business in countries that have really terrible infrastructure and terrible institutions. And when I started learning about, blockchain technology and crypto, really, opened my eyes to the fact that this could be a massive change to the way things work in the world, the way power structures work. And that excited me. And I basically said, okay, forget all this traditional finance stuff. I want to go full in here and see how this is going to develop over the next decade or two and see how it kind of can change the world. One of the things with that kind of mission, the reason I kind of bring that up as the reason why I got involved in the space is, early on, as I was kind of digging into a lot of stuff and researching, a lot of the kind of information that was out there was very, very tech focused, right? Okay, this group was coming out with, some new structure and architecture of a blockchain that would yield slightly higher transactions per second or various different kind of nuances on that side. And obviously, the geniuses working on all of that kind of stuff are unbelievably important in getting this technology to the point where it can really permeate widely throughout the world. But the part that I actually, was way more interested in is how people are going to use it, right? And how does this actually envelop into our everyday life? And honestly, at this point, I'm not sure there is a single community better suited to understanding how the future of crypto will work in the world than the ape community. You have literally like tens of thousands of people that are very, very focused on how they can spend hours of their time every day engaging with Web3, taking ownership over their digital life, their digital assets, and coming up with new ideas that will bring in new people that can go and take advantage of that and then eventually improve their lives by, decentralizing really bad centralized systems. So I love the irreverence and the fun of the ape community. I got an ape handle myself and a mutant. I'm Apecurian because I love food. But at the same time, I think that this is more than just kind of fun and irreverence. This is kind of the cutting edge of how the consumer world will eventually implement crypto and blockchain solutions in their lives. And that's a really cool thing to be driving forth with people like Spencer and people in the special counsel and other key members of the community too.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad you circled back around there to Spencer as well. And thanks for sharing some of your history and your passion with us. I always love having these conversations with folks that have been around the ecosystem for a while or have been in their relevant domains for a while, because you can really hear the passion coming out from people that have been doing their jobs and doing it well for so long. But you said 14 years, or since not 14 years, since you were 14 years old. What can you circle back to that before we move on just real quick?
Yeah, so me and Spencer, we grew up about 20 blocks from each other in New York. I mean, actually, we probably have known each other. We started going to school together in high school when we were about 14. But I'm sure we met probably even earlier along the way because we grew up so close to each other. But yeah, we've known each other for years. I think our first collaboration was probably in high school when we started writing, fun screenplays together and things like that. And on and off, we've done random projects together. And once we got involved in crypto, it gave us an opportunity to work closely together. And it's been almost, I guess, a few years now of doing that. And, it's been wonderful and miserable every day. So I'm sure you'd agree, Spencer.
I love you guys can't see Spencer, but he's over here chuckling the whole time. Sorry, go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think that probably, yeah, certainly since we were about 14, I'm sure that there was some traumatizing moment where you gave me a cold shoulder before then.
Interesting. Jordan was the cool kid.
It's all relative, isn't it?
I used to be cooler than I am.
No, it's all relative.
Let's put it that way.
I'm imagining. I mean, I was
That is
imagining.
true.
I know you said high school, but I was imagining you guys building like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches together in the kitchen for some reason. But it's no screenwriting shows.
No,
That's fun. That's interesting. And I mean, that's really the segue into what you guys have been doing here now, right? You guys have been building since you were 14 years old. The train doesn't stop. The train hasn't stopped. You guys are building now the ApeCoin, the ApeChain network, and you have been since the beginning. I like getting the longer introductions. I like giving people the chance to introduce themselves. One, because it's necessary. I mean, everybody has to kind of introduce themselves before they speak anywhere. But two, it gives us an opportunity to see what you care about, sort of see your passion, learn what you care about in the ecosystem. And my little quote is like, people don't really care what you know until they know that you care. So it is important that people are able to see that and able to feel that from you guys. So again, I appreciate you guys taking some time to go back there. Let's get into it. Let's hear just a little bit. This is going to be, if people are listening in, this is going to be where we get into Spencer's favorite part. This is going to be the nerdiest part of the discussion. But the testnet is live. The ApeChain testnet is live. People are wondering, how do I get involved? Can I get involved? You can get involved now. The link is, I think it's hub.caldera. Is it .io? Is that correct, Jordan? I'm putting you guys on the spot there.
I gotta just double check.
No,
I don't want to give anybody wrong information on that, but I think that sounds about right. Spencer, do you have the exact address off the top of your head?
It's curtis.hub.caldera.xyz.
You guys can just go to apechain.com, look at the dev docs, and get connected to the testnet. But yeah, this is going to definitely be leaning more into some of the technical advancements, maybe some of the things that are possible. We don't have to go that far into it, but the testnet has gone through the first phase already, and we're now in the second phase. So Jordan, it looks like I can see you, and you look pretty excited here about the testnet. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Let us know kind of about your experience getting here and getting the testnet up. And if you can then just sort of lead us into where we are now.
Yeah, sure. So, our partner on the technical side with all of this has been Caldera as the roll-up as a service provider. And they've had a lot of experience working with Arbitrum and off-chains technology, specifically the Arbitrum orbit chains, which ApeChain is going to be. And, a couple of just key features just to keep in mind on why we find, as a community voted this technology to be the basis of ApeChain is that basically the way it works is it is a chain that sits above Arbitrum's chain and allows us to use ApeCoin as the gas. So that's a really, really important and key point here, because since the launch of ApeCoin a couple years ago, there has not been a really great utility for the token. And now that we basically are using ApeCoin as gas on ApeChain, basically the more popular ApeChain becomes, the more people go onto ApeChain.com and start discovering all the really cool, fun apps that they can use that also are going to use ApeCoin. The more they're going to basically need to buy ApeCoin and become part of our community and increase the demand for the token. That is a big deal. So that was part one of why this technology is such a great technology for us to base our chain on. The second one is we're specifically using something called an Arbitrum AnyTrust chain. And what that does is takes the data availability part of a blockchain, which is kind of where you store the history of the transactions and things like that it has on a lot of rollups is stored directly on Ethereum and can be quite expensive and increase gas fees. Instead, we run that with an off-chain data availability committee that can keep gas fees really, really low. And this was a really, really important consideration on our end because unlike some of the other chains that are out there that exist more as kind of proof of concepts of different types of, blockchain architecture and things like that, that's not what ApeChain is about. ApeChain is about the users and it's about making a great experience for users to go onto applications that use blockchain and crypto and allow them to do so without anything kind of standing in the way of that. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's had that experience of doing something on Ethereum over the last couple of years and finding enormous fees to do things that are relatively simple. That's not going to work if you want to play, a simple game or you want to spend hours and hours trading meme coins or things like that. So I think that the structure that we built there is really, really the right one for the type of chain that we're building. And, putting together the testnet, what the testnet is there to do is we have literally dozens, bordering on hundreds of protocols and applications and groups of developers that are going to be building on ApeChain. And they need to get familiar with our tech stack. And, we started with, the first alpha testnet, Jenkins, which kind of familiarized them with Orbit's tech stack in general. And then this Curtis is a full-featured one that's allowing them to really understand what the environment's going to be like on mainnet to make sure that everything that they're going to be integrating works smoothly from day one and that all of the complex dependencies that crypto applications have nowadays, whether it's connecting with oracles or indexers or all sorts of different on-ramps and bridges and things like that are in place and they can troubleshoot any issues before we actually go live and there's real user resources involved. So far it's been really successful getting that up and running and we're churning and we're not too far off from the next stage, which I think everybody's going to be very excited about, which is mainnet. So Spencer, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add that you thought I missed on that.
No, I think that you've got it right. The things that I would add is that the Curtis testnet has been wildly successful. It is something like 15 million transactions, I want to say, on it. It's got a whole ton of users, and that's all for a token that's already there, right? There's no promise of incentivization. There's no promise of future airdrop for farming, right? And so I think that it's gotten a lot of excitement within the community. The other thing that's been really cool to see is how many people within the community have been building on testnet, whether that was through people who got AIPs passed or just people who have come on and said, oh yeah, I finally have a home for something. So, having this testnet period, having this sort of opportunity before we open the gates up on mainnet for the people who really want to get involved, get in early, start playing around with things, start battle testing things, start standing things up, and getting infrastructure partners in has been really helpful and important.
Yeah, I think you guys said it best. I wanted to circle back here to some of these numbers real quick. You're right. It's over 15 million transactions. There's over 5 million total addresses that have been created. And this is just the testnet. Over 70,000 contracts. There's completed transactions and there's total transactions. So there's more total transactions than completed transactions. So somewhere in there, someone's sneaking around some extra transactions.
And Lost, just, I know for some of the listeners, those numbers just seem very random. But for context, on an anecdotal basis, speaking with groups that have seen a lot of testnets out there, we've been told that this is in, the top, 98, 99th percentile of activity on a testnet. pre-mainnet launch. So, no guarantees that that is going to translate to that same level of activity in mainnet, but I have to say it's good for the morale of the team, and we're excited to see if it does indeed translate, because we certainly have a ton of groups out there building.
Jordan, I think that we should get you on the record guaranteeing it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think this is a great transition really into what I wanted to talk about next, and I think it is already showing, right? I think it is already translating, and I think people are starting to see it. They're starting to feel it on the timeline. If they're on social media, even if they're looking at other channels, right? The news, the information, it's starting to spread, starting to get out there. People are starting to get excited about what's going on. A lot of announcements, a lot of partnerships, a lot of integrations, and a lot of them have been what we would call core infrastructure. Really, they're like software as a service providers for the most part. And some of the things that have been introduced are maybe a little bit confusing for some of the people in the ecosystem. We don't have to talk about everything, and we don't have to define exactly what Oracle is, or Bridge, or Block Explorer. We have all of these things, but we also have now sort of expanded our ecosystem. And this is, I think, what's starting to really show, and what's amplifying the movement on the ecosystem, on the timeline, is us not just expanding our own ecosystem, but joining all of these other ecosystems. I guess just one large thing, or one interesting thing that's popped up, and one of our providers on ApeChain is going to be this provider called Camelot, and we've joined. It's called their Camelot Orbit Liquidity Provider Ecosystem Group, something like that. I'm getting the name wrong there, but we've joined this deliberate group that they've created to align other people in this ecosystem. So can you, Spencer, maybe just tell us a little bit more about what it means for the ApeCoin, the ApeChain community, to be joining these other micro ecosystems that are part of the larger Arbitrum ecosystem, and maybe if you can touch on even some of the smaller partnerships that have already announced, that might be interesting for people.
Yeah, so being part of the Arbitrum Orbit ecosystem is important for a couple of reasons. One is the really obvious one, which is that it gives us access to Arbitrum tech. I think that there was a point a couple of years ago where people were like, oh, what's the difference between different L2s? Everything's the same tech, et cetera, et cetera. It's really not, right? Arbitrum is at the very cutting edge of tech. Being aligned with them is going to allow us to have things like Stylus, pretty early on, which will allow people to develop directly in Rust, C, C++. The non-nerdy sort of version of why that's important is that it opens up ApeChain to a ton more developers than just Solidity developers. It opens them up to basically almost every developer in the world who wants to build stuff there. That doesn't happen without being partnered with Arbitrum. The other thing that's really important about it is that it gives us access to the broader Arbitrum and Off-Chain Labs BD teams, ecosystem, infrastructure. It's allowed us to open the doors for a lot of conversations and inherit a lot from Arbitrum. Some of the strongest early partners, folks like Camelot, for example, are major names within the Arbitrum ecosystem and now have a commitment to Orbit Chain and have been really, really good and strong partners and on the forefront on ApeChain as a result. The other thing that's really important about it is that Arbitrum has a lot of users and it has a lot of liquidity. It has a lot of great DeFi. And being right next door to that gives us access to all of that. I think it's also important what Arbitrum lacks here, which is that Arbitrum is great at a lot of things. And I don't want, Steve or Jack or any of the other people over there to yell at me, but I think there's a sense that it doesn't quite have the culture part nailed down. Right. And that's kind of what makes Ape and Arbitrum a little bit like peanut butter and jelly, whereas we bring that culture in spade. Right. And there's a whole lot of people who are on Arbitrum and who are doing their leverage trading or their serious DeFi on Arbitrum, but they're also interested in memes. They're interested in games. They're interested in NFTs. And while there is some of that, on Arbitrum One and Arbitrum Nova, ApeChain really has the opportunity to be the place for that and fit a very specific role within the ecosystem, which is really exciting. But I have nothing obviously but good things to say about Arbitrum and Off-Chain Labs, and they've been terrific partners to us. And I don't think that this thing gets stood up as relatively quickly as it has, and I don't think that it would have the same chance that it has to be wildly successful as it does without being tied into that ecosystem. And that's not even getting started on the other Orbit chains that we're building relationships with, and we're excited to be able to sort of talk about those and announce those and talk about cross-chain collaborations as well.
Jordan, go ahead. I mean, the same question for you. I don't know if there's somebody else that you wanted to highlight, and I don't know if I can see these guys. You guys aren't going to be able to see them when the podcast goes live, but I might be misreading the expression. But Jordan just looks just a little bit excited, just even hearing the discussion here. So I don't know if there's somebody that you wanted to highlight that we've gotten involved with in particular, or maybe even just sharing your experience, sort of helping to develop networks and different ecosystems in the past, and how it's now sort of carrying forward to what we're doing with ApeChain.
Yeah, so I think the area where I want to highlight is, something that you mentioned, which is we spent a lot of our time very early on in this kind of ecosystem build out on core infrastructure. And the reason why we did that is when you kind of think about what a blockchain platform like ApeChain is going to be, what it really is we're basically a place for you to build your crypto blockchain user-focused application and connect with the users on it. What we need to make sure, if we want to be a really top end platform for that and drive the best application developers, we need to make sure that they feel comfortable building their business on our platform, right? And in order to do that, we need to make sure that they have every single tool that they need in order to do that. And we need to make sure that those tools are at the cutting edge of the technology that's there. So, when you see on, and I'd urge everybody to go follow ApeCoin Twitter on X. When you see, us release all of these partnerships every few days, there's some really big names there. You see stuff like Gold Sky, or you see stuff like Piff. We're going to end up having, top-notch account abstraction like Halliday and things like that. Those are all maybe a little less exciting than for the average user than a very big name DeFi application like Camelot, or a super cool game like Dookie Dash Unclogged. But when you're an application developer in this industry and you see those are getting integrated into an Orbit chain, you go, wow, okay, this is kind of the best of both worlds. I don't have to sacrifice having the best in class infrastructure by going to some chain that literally only has transactions based on, raising a ton of VC capital and, hiring people to do transactions. I actually get to have all that world-class infrastructure, and I have real users and a real devoted community to actually use my application. So to me, it's actually quite a unique proposition in the industry. And it's not to say that there aren't other chains out there that can also be, premier chains that are user focused or consumer crypto focused, as we're starting to hear around. But I think that, we really have the right combination there, and laying down those roots by getting that best in class infrastructure tooling for devs, and making sure that, on our team, we're highly responsive, that we have, great developer relations side of things, great docs side of things. That is going to, really open up all of the amazing applications that we're going to see, because people are just going to come. They're going to see it. They're going to say, man, there's an ecosystem fund with Banana Bill. There's all of the tools that I need. There's a user base, and it's really fun and a welcoming community too. So it's going to be a pleasant place for me to build my business as well too. So all that stuff excites me.
And you gave us all the quotes. You gave us all the headlines today, Jordan. I appreciate making people feel comfortable to build their business on ApeChain. We need that on a shirt. That needs to be somebody's tagline for their business. I don't know which brand it is, but someone needs to scoop that up and put it on a shirt for us. I would wear it. I don't know where.
As long as I get NFT royalties off of it, I gotta turn it into an NFT or something like that. But
we need to get the royalties going through ApeChain back to Jordan for that tagline. It'll have to be all official, but that's exactly what our community's into. We like licensing. One of the other things I want to touch on real quick before I jump into our next topic, and I think we're perfectly set up to move on to want to talk about next. And what's next is what's next. I mean, we've talked about sort of how we got here, where we're at, who you guys are in the ecosystem, and I think there's plenty of other things we could circle back on in the future and dive more into. But I know people are curious what's coming up next, what sort of surprises are coming up. But before we jump into that, we talked about. I mean, we preempted the people. I had to preempt the people. I've been working with Jordan. I've been working with Spencer for a while. I've been on stages and different platforms with them, multiple times. So I have a sense for their passion and how excited they get when we talk about things like the test net. But one of the other things that you mentioned collaboration there where some of the best in class partners and the account abstraction we have, you mentioned Halliday, we have Safe and Den providing the service there. Could you tell us just, I don't want to go too deep into any of the particular elements, but this idea about account abstraction, it keeps coming up a lot. It was introduced into this whole Ethereum ecosystem a while ago. We've implemented it here on ApeChain. Could you just give us just a little bit of insight about what it looks like practically on ApeChain when we talk about account abstraction?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can give you like a specific example that I found interesting from conversations with the Halliday team, and then I'll let Spencer kind of dig in with some ideas on his side. But when you're playing a Web3 game, oftentimes you might need to buy tokens within that game for various different reasons, right? That can be a very frustrating process if you don't have account abstraction and intent orchestration. That means that, okay, I got to kind of pause my gameplay. I got to figure out, okay, what decks I'm going to use to get those tokens. I got to figure out how to do that. And the whole process can be quite confusing. I got to make sure I have, the gas token in there. Otherwise, the swap's not going to go through. What this will allow you to do is basically use on the back end Stripe and MoonPay to directly use a credit card to on-ramp into whatever token you want or need in the game that you're playing. That's huge. That's massive. Like when you think about how people use in-app purchases on games that they're playing on their iPhone, right? How simple is that, right? We need to have that level of user experience and simplicity when it comes to Web3 gaming if we want that to end up growing its market share from, an infinitesimal part of the overall gaming market into something that's really quite significant. And making sure that things like account abstraction and intent orchestration are there for those game developers to use and provide to the gamers, that are their customers. That's going to be really ideal in making this a great place to go in and use actual apps every day. So Spencer, I don't know if you want to kind of dig in a little bit further on some of the other types of account abstraction use cases too.
No, I think that with account abstraction, you're right. It allows for easier user onboarding, easier user interactions. It also allows for developers to control the experience of what they're doing, more closely, right? So that you can really have a unified, pass for your games, right? You can really have a unified experience for trading, and so I think that being able to allow people to interact directly with the stuff that's on chain instead of having to go through hoops is the most important part of that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think we're seeing this word thrown around a lot more. We're seeing this idea of consumer crypto and people getting onboarded. But what does it really mean? It means making things easy for people. And we definitely have a lot of people in this ecosystem, the Arbitrum ecosystem, the Ethereum ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem that came here from gaming or betting or wagering or some sort of crazy activity like that. And we are definitely looking to help to facilitate those things in the development of ApeChain. So it seems one of the things coming up soon in the ecosystem is Dookie Dash. I know that they are launching on ApeChain, as is seemingly everything from the Bored Ape Yacht Club these days. I don't know if I could squeeze any alpha out of you guys. I know it's not live yet. We've had the announcements come out from the team. It is on ApeChain though, but I want to talk about sort of what's next and maybe any surprises that you guys might want to talk about. And just as we're looking at these collaborations, as we're looking at all these people that are contributing, whether it's the club, whether it's individuals, whether it's all these top level best in class service providers, the infrastructure providers, I think that the theme here, a reoccurring theme, one of the things that we're seeing is just this protocol level support for everybody, whether it's the devs, whether it's the apes, whether it's each other. I don't know that we see this in other places. I don't know if that's something that we're able to lead on. I don't want to exclude anybody or say it definitively here yet, but I do get a sense that we're doing something here that's unique. It's sort of rooted, it's sort of inherent in the ape ecosystem, and it is that community level support. It is that willingness, that want to help the people that are next to us here in that ecosystem. And it's great. You guys, if you guys are listening in, you don't necessarily need to own a Bored Ape to be a part of the excitement with ApeChain or with ApeCoin. You do just need to be able to interact on the ApeChain. And ApeCoin is the gas, so you will need to figure out how to get some ApeCoin into your wallets one way or another, and the account abstraction will help to make that easier in some ways. But I want to turn over to you guys again. Jordan, Spencer, I don't know if you want to lead this one and drop the alpha. I know it's hard to squeeze the alpha out of you sometimes. So maybe we'll start with Jordan. Maybe he's feeling a little extra squishy today, but what sort of surprises do you think that you could drop for people, or what do you think is really next for the ecosystem here?
Yeah, so I obviously I'm not going to say anything I shouldn't. But let me give you kind of a theme that I think is going to really excite people. I'm seeing very much in a lot of the applications and that are coming on and some of the primitives. It's this idea that ape community loves degen shit. Right? They love pouring gasoline on things. So it's not going to be normal, straightforward, like you see on every other chain. Everything is going to have that twist. And the other thing that is unique about the ape community is that it's a real community. Like, people are friends. They hang out with each other. They go on spaces for hours. And think about what you want to do with your friends. You want to play games. You want to maybe bet each other on those games. You want to have, also maybe send memes around and try to trade meme coins with each other and do competitions with each other on and see who does better and who doesn't. I think that idea that this is a place where the group of people from all around the world that you have made friends with online because you all love crypto now have a place, not just to go, on Twitter and tweet at each other, but a real place where you can hang out, do something really fun on an application, and have that, experience like that we all crave of that human friendly interaction of a community. That, I think, is what you're going to notice as a theme with a lot of the applications that are going to be that kind of initial wave on ApeChain. And I know that might be a little disappointing because it's not like real alpha. But I think the alpha is that's unique, right? This is a place where it's not just about, okay, hey, maybe I'm going to invest in some token that does a 10x. This is really about a place where I can go and build a community and hang out with my community. And that, I think, is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a chain for culture, right? I think that's really unique. It's a chain that's for culture. It's a chain that was actually built by the community. Like, there are corporate interests who have shepherded it into being and sort of put some of those infrastructure and pieces into places. But this is starting from a place that's much more decentralized, community focused than any other chain. And I think that that's pretty awesome and incredible. And then I think it's going to be fun, right? That's something that really is different. It's not a chain where we're just bringing people on with a promise that, you're going to 100x whatever you're going to do here. I hope that you do. I hope that everybody does, right? But it's not like the stated, kind of promise there. It's a chain that's fun. It's a chain that gives you a chance to be a part of the community. It's a chain that lets you build with other builders and sort of have access to all the best tech, all the best infrastructure, all the best applications. But really, Jordan, to your point, it's a chain that's going to be fun.
And just one quick thing to add with that too, and maybe a little alpha. There's a lot of stuff on that's going to be launching on ApeChain that allows people without really deep tech knowledge to build their own fun stuff, right? So there's a lot of these kind of primitives that allow you, as in either a low code or no code way, to go and create your own custom fun stuff for other people to use. And I just feel like if you're a creative person anywhere in the world, you have an interest in what blockchain and crypto is going to do to kind of decentralize things, and you want to fool around and experiment with, what's that next application that is going to envelop our lives and bring you into the world of blockchain and crypto on a daily basis, this is the place to experiment for that, because the users are there. The community is very friendly and open for it. And you also, like I said, have best-in-class infrastructure and technology to make that easy.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to launch an NFT, Puffles is there, and there will be other launch pads there as well that make it really easy. If you want to launch a meme coin, right, Ape Express is going to be, I'm pretty convinced, the best way on any chain to launch a meme, right? If you want to build your own marketplace, there's Sequence there. And then it kind of goes on and on and on through where whatever you want to do as a builder, And you want to try this stuff out. You don't necessarily need to be somebody who has, I don't know, a PhD in Solidity to do it, right? But if you do, and you want to build some more complex stuff, that's going to be supported as well.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the emphasis on the community. I mean, I really has been driven by the community the whole time, whether the sentiment was positive, whether the sentiment was negative. Either way, the community has been at the root of all of these discussions, helping to drive it all forward. We are going to be there. We are going to be supporting each other as this chain goes live. And everybody seems to be getting very excited as it is ramping up to go live, making things easy for people to launch. That seems like it could be a double-edged sword with apes. Just thinking about it practically, like, what are these MFers really going to build? I don't know, but Roblox for boomers and zoomers and apes. I mean, it sounds like a good thing for me. And everything is sort of novel in this ecosystem. Still, we're at a point in this network where we've interoperated with Ethereum, we've interoperated with Arbitrum. Now we've got apes and the IP and the culture coming in all together. There's just so many opportunities to build things that have never been built before. Again, if people are listening in, it is not the wrong time to get involved. It is the exact right time to get involved, to ask questions, seek out people from the ecosystem. They're all over the place. They're all over different platforms. You can go to apechain.com to get connected with different funding opportunities and keep up with what's next. But before we go, and we will go here soon, Jordan, Spencer, I want to give you guys an opportunity to touch on anything that we didn't touch on, anything that you guys might want to share before we go. I always like to ask our guests this in closing because we do get excited in these conversations. And so, yeah, Jordan, anything that you didn't have a chance to touch on that you want to leave people with before we get out of here?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is, one of the initiatives I've been working on beyond Banana Bill and ApeChain is like APU and being an AIP coach, which are the proposals to the DAO for funding of projects. And one thing that it's kind of taught me is that this community has people with deep expertise in almost every area you can imagine in getting involved in crypto. So if you are out there and you're listening to this and you have an idea, but you feel, insecure or nervous because everything you read on about crypto seems overly confusing or, unfriendly or any of that type of stuff, I would urge you to just start getting involved. Go reach out to any ape and we will get you to the right person. And think about ApeChain and all of these funding programs that we have out here as this kind of key to open a door to creativity, to that next stage in your existence where you can go and build something really cool, because we have the support, we have the funding, we have the community for it, and we're happy to welcome you with open arms. So I'll leave everybody with that.
Yeah, and Spencer, same for you as we're getting out of here. Anything that you want to leave the folks with that you didn't have a chance to touch on? Any last things that you wanted to share?
ApeChain, it's coming. Get ready for it. Get excited for it. Please reach out. As Jordan said, please reach out. Apes are really friendly. We want everybody to be part of this. It's a chain that's built by apes, but it's not just for apes. It's for anybody who wants to come and, take part in the community. And it's going to be awesome.
100%. I love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the call out for the community. Again, there are so many competent people out here and they are all willing to help. I've never really run into anybody in this ecosystem that was upset when I reached out to them to ask questions, to ask them to join us on a stage, ask them to help somebody else in the ecosystem. It really is a unique place. And now we have a little bit of a home. We have a chain, we have a protocol, we have a place that we can build at the ApeChain. That's it, guys. This is rounding up a wonderful, comprehensive, an introduction, a glance, a look at Jordan and Spencer, two of the developers, two of the contributors, two of the driving forces behind the ApeChain launch. And keep your eyes out. I'm not exactly sure when you guys are going to get to hear this. It might already have launched, but if not, keep an eye out for that ApeChain launch and keep an eye on that ApeChain website for all of the updates. Thanks, everybody, for being here with us.
Thanks again, Ross.
Powered by Dixo.